AI is moving so fast that the jargon alone could fill a dictionary. But here's the thing, 90% of those terms, they actually don't matter to getting work done. And this video isn't a technical dictionary. I'm only giving you the essential terms that you need to be productive and to sniff out the BS of people that are selling you AI solutions. I've broken these terms into 7 categories, solely focused on utility. So let's get into it. There's a good number of terms that I want to share, so let's just get into it. The first category is tools, giving terms to tools that people like to talk about. So our first one here is AI providers. So this is a term that you'll often hear in relation to different types of AI providers that give you access to things like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, or Gemini. Most of you have probably heard of ChatGPT, but very few of you have heard of Gemini, Claude, or Grok, all of which give you access to a chat-like interface to interact with AI. There's the first term, AI provider. Our next one is going to be AI browser. Now, an AI browser is a browser that's dedicated to having AI inside of it. So the AI isn't just in a chat interface, but it's interspersed throughout the entire experience of you in the browser. One browser that's been around for a few months is called Comet from a company called Perplexity. But one that you've likely heard of, or maybe have heard of, is called Atlas from OpenAI. This is more recent. And my guess is the AI browser is the future interface that we'll have between us and the internet. And that's AI browser, something you probably heard of or you will hear of. Next is coding agents. Now, coding agents is something that people talk about in relation to vibe coding, which is another term we'll talk about later. And here are 3 of the common providers people talk about in this context. So we have Claude Code, Cursor, and Codex, all of which are tools that are dedicated to helping you write code with AI. Now, the interesting thing here is every single one of these tools likely has a model in the background that you're using day in and day out, such as GPT-5. But what makes it a coding agent is all of the additional features and scaffolding around the model to assist it and focus it on writing code effectively. And that is our coding agents. So the next category is going to be how we interact with AI. The first interaction method is actually going to be twofold. The first one is dictation. So with dictation, we're converting our speech into text. Why is this useful? Well, it's faster and sometimes more effective because when I have a lot of stuff in my head that I want to get into the AI's head, it's usually easier for me to verbally speak it out and then have that converted to text for the AI to then understand. And you can try this today. So if you just go to ChatGPT, so if I go to ChatGPT here, there's a little microphone here. So it says dictate. When I click this, everything that I'm saying right now is being converted into text. So once I select the checkbox, it's going to convert that speech into text. And honestly, this is probably one of the best dictation tools that I've seen. So that's dictation. The next term is going to be either voice to voice as a term in itself or advanced voice mode, both of which are talking about the same thing. And this is when I speak to AI and then it speaks back to me. So most of the AI providers offer this feature either in the mobile app they provide, such as Claude has it only in the mobile app, or ChatGPT has it in the mobile app and in the web browser. So I'll show you what it looks like in ChatGPT. So if we go back to ChatGPT, I'm going to delete this so it's not distracting. You can see on the right-hand side, we have a little kind of sound wave. And that sound wave, if I click that, it's going to have AI talking back to me. Now, this is useful for a variety of reasons. The first one is if you're on the move via commute. So if I'm on a commute using voice mode, I'm able to, in the car while I'm driving, talk through different ideas, research things, etc. I also do this when I go on walks. So I don't have to have my phone out reading it. I can just walk and talk with my headphones in via Bluetooth, and I can just talk to AI while I'm on a walk. If I had to bet, my bet is that in the future, voice is likely going to be the primary method that we use to interact with AI in almost any technology going forward. Quick pause in your regular programming. This video is brought to you by me. 2 quick things. First thing, below is a 30-day AI Insight series. Completely free, you'll get 30 insights in your inbox for how you can apply AI to your business and your work. Second thing is if you'd like to work with me, below are a series of offerings to see if there's a good fit between the two of us. And with that being said, we should totally get back into the video. Now, another form of interaction I wanted to call out is collaborative action. So this collaboration, 2 terms people like to call out, is canvas and artifacts. So most tools, Gemini, OpenAI, and I think Grok, all use the term canvas, and then Claude uses the term artifact. What they're basically referring to when they talk about this is it's a collaborative canvas or dashboard that you can work with an AI. And an example I wanted to share here is Google Docs. Oftentimes when you have Google Docs, you can share that with other people. They then can actively edit that document with you at the same time. This is what AI can do with you as well if you use Canvas or artifacts inside of these tools. And I wanted to show you an example. So if I go to this chat over here, I asked AI to write a summary on a specific topic I had at research. And when I asked it to write a summary, I specifically asked it to render it in Canvas. And the way I did that is if I go to the plus button at the bottom right-hand corner here, under More, you can see the option called Canvas. When I select that, it lights up blue. Anything that it writes back to me is going to use the Canvas specific feature. And on the right-hand side, you can see if I pull this out, this is kind of like a document on the right-hand side. I can highlight things, I can write things, I can bold things. But in addition to this, I can also highlight this and I can ask ChatGPT to do something for me. So if I turn off extended thinking so it doesn't take forever to do this, I'll actually show you an example. Make this segment shorter. So I just use dictation, pushed enter, and what AI is going to do is it's only going to change what I highlighted. So you can see it's actively editing this and it made it shorter. That's one way to interact with AI is via text. Another way we can interact with AI in the Canvas feature is through code and visualizations. This is something that a lot of people don't use but should. So here above here is actually another example. So if I close this, before I asked it to write a one pager for me on this topic, I actually asked it to visualize the idea for me. So if I do preview, the AI actually wrote this entire dashboard in code. So it shows the specific idea I wanted to research and understand. And it gives a lot of different visuals to help me understand this and also share it with others for them to understand. And the AI can then make targeted edits to the code behind the screen here to help me understand or change things as I would prefer. And that's the way that we can collaborate in relation to AI. Another term that you'll often hear is agent mode. So agent mode is something that's becoming more and more popular, specifically inside of these AI browsers. So before I mentioned Atlas, inside of Atlas, there's agent mode. And what happens is the AI is not only taking action on your behalf, but you can watch it take action, which is both really cool and kind of creepy. So in the browser, I can ask the AI to go off and maybe respond to a bunch of comments that people have made on my posts. And I can visually watch it do that. It'll go through and click things on the screen, it'll write things, and it'll even send things on my behalf. And this is often what people refer to when they talk about agent mode. There's both this in Atlas browser and also inside of ChatGPT. And those are interaction methods. Now we're going to move on to what we can get out of AI, the outputs. So there's two categories or two terms I want to talk about first really quick. So we'll split these in half down the screen. The first one is reasoning models. Most of the models that you use today, especially the ones that are in the cutting edge, are going to be reasoning models, meaning they're going to think before they respond. And you can extend the amount of time that they reason if you have a very complex task. And the cool thing is you can see the output of that reasoning. So if I actually go back to ChatGPT in the same chat where I had the AI writing this dashboard for us, if I move the canvas over, you can see that here it said that it thought for 2 minutes and 42 seconds. If I click into this, you can see on the right-hand side that it did some thinking and then it did some research. It went to a bunch of websites. Then it thinks some more and it researched, thought more, research, etc. This is the reasoning trace. This is a one output that you get from AI that you can see how it's thinking. That's useful because if you see it's reasoning in the wrong direction, you can update your prompt to improve it. So that's the first term. The next one is deep research. So this is something that every single provider has. And this is actually one of the first agentic use cases that the masses were able to use. What's going to happen here in deep research is you're going to ask it to research something for you. It's going to go off and research between 10 and 20 minutes. It'll then come back to you with a 20 to sometimes even 40-page report, and that report's going to be extremely in-depth associated to the specific question you asked it to research. And you can find this inside of ChatGPT. So if you go into the chat, you go to plus, and right here you can see deep research is an option. You select that, it gives you the blue link or the blue item, and you ask it a very detailed question to go off and do that extensive research for you. And that's another output. Another output I wanted to call out is more creative. So this one's image generation. There are tons and tons of image generation models today. I wanted to share just four with you that I would say are the more popular, at least right now. So we have Midjourney, Nano Banana, Flux AI, and ImageGen. ImageGen is from OpenAI, Nano Banana is from Google, and then Midjourney and Flux AI are from smaller startup companies. And here I wanted to call out Nano Banana because recently they added a new feature that other image generation models don't necessarily have as of yet, but they will, is the ability to effectively edit an image or edit something into an image. And my example here is me. So I gave it a photo of me and said, I want you to create a Pixar-like or Hercules Disney-like animation with me inside of it. And this is its interpretation of that. And then on the right-hand side, I gave it another image of me and said, I want you to include me into an 80s scene where I'm sitting in front of a desk. And this is what it gave us. And it's important to call this out because image generation, the term, is becoming extremely useful for many business owners because you can take this idea from Nano Banana and you can apply it to ads, content creation, etc. And that's images. But what about videos? Well, there's tons and tons of video models as well. And these video generation models are getting really, really good. So we have Sora 2 from OpenAI, and we have Veo 3.1 from Google. Another interesting thing I'll call out here in relation to the term of video generation is Sora 2 added a cameo feature, meaning I can add myself as a cameo and I can make videos with me inside of it, or I can create a character and that character can be included in those videos. Again, this is very useful for content creation and ads. So that's images and videos. Now our next output is something that's more technical. It's structured outputs. And this isn't something that everybody needs to know about, but you should have at least an understanding of what it is because the AI may sometimes give this to you on accident, or you'll accidentally trigger this in the AI to give it to you. So, what you're looking at here is a specific format of text. This is called JSON. And JSON is really useful for two machines communicating together. So, if I want to send something from an AI to another app or to another AI so it can programmatically process that information, I'm probably going to use JSON. Reason being is that it's very structured. So you have these little symbols here on your keyboard, these brackets. Then you have quotes, you have colons, commas, etc. The AI can easily look at this and say, okay, I want to pull this out, I want to pull this out, and it's not too distracted by stuff. Sometimes AI will give this output to you because it's assuming that you're going to give it to an app. But if it's going from AI to human, you don't have to worry about JSON. So we've talked about the outputs. Now let's talk about how we can tailor the AI to our needs. Our first term here is system prompts. So this is something that I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. And a system prompt is simply put is a prompt that our AI is going to look at before it interacts with our user. And this is kind of adjacently, another term that people talk about in relation to system prompts are instructions. So you think about if you create a project inside of ChatGPT, which is something we'll talk about later, you want the AI to be tailored to a certain use case. So maybe I tell an AI, you're a useful assistant that helps me pick out clothing for my cat. So it should only focus on that specific task and nothing else. So that's the instruction, that's the system prompt. So anytime the user interacts with the AI, it's tailored to that task of picking out clothing for my cat. So that's the purpose of a system prompt and how it relates to instructions. Now, I mentioned we talk about projects, so we'll talk about it now. A project is something that every single AI provider provides. So Gemini, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, etc. Now, what is a project? So you can think about a project as a dedicated folder on your desktop with AI inside of it to do a repetitive task for you. So say that you write a recurring email after a certain type of meeting, and you always write the same type of structured email. Well, if you have that same meeting on a weekly basis or a daily basis, you can create a specific project inside of ChatGPT or Claude that says, as soon as I give you a transcript, you're automatically going to assess the transcript and provide me back an email and the specific structure and tone that I prefer to write those emails so I don't have to do it anymore. And what's inside of this project is, like I said previously, a system prompt. We have a system prompt. And we also, inside of this, can include files to show a variety of reasons. So it could be something that references to research, or it could be something that references to ensure that it follows right instructions or whatever else. And to show you a quick example of what this looks like, we'll go to ChatGPT, open up my sidebar, and then down here I have a bunch of projects. So if I click into the slide creator, I can do the three dots up in the right-hand corner. I do edit instructions, and this right here is my system prompt. And also, as you can see at this section here, you can add files as well. And that's our projects. ChatGPT also has custom GPTs. So this is something that's specific to OpenAI. Not other providers don't have this, at least not yet. And with custom GPTs, the only difference between this and a project is that it's shareable via a dedicated GPT app store. So other people can get access to this publicly. They can rate it, they can look at it, they can share it with others, etc. That's what custom GPTs refers to. And then the next thing I want to call it here is Claude Skills. So Claude Skills was actually recently released by Anthropic. And a Claude skill is kind of like bringing a project to you. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, say this box here, say this is a running conversation with an AI. And over here is a project dedicated to a given task. So if I'm inside of ChatGPT, or say Claude, let's do Claude since this is a Claude skill. And there's a specific project I've created that's very good at creating PowerPoints for me in a specific format that I prefer. I would have to go to this project to then have it create the PowerPoint for me. So I'm going into that universe. And anything I do inside of that universe is dedicated just to creating PowerPoints. But maybe I'm in a thread over here in a conversation that's general, and I want to bring in this skill, but I don't want to actually stop the conversation. I just want it to create the presentation and then to continue the conversation. That's what a skill is. You're bringing the project into the thread, into the conversation you're having, getting the use out of it, and then it's going away, and you're continuing that conversation. You're bringing a skill into you. When somebody says Cloud Skills, that's what we're referring to. And next we have MCP and connectors. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and then we have connectors. So Model Context Protocol, or MCP, is kind of like the backbone. So this is the backbone of connectors. Connectors use MCP to achieve a given task. And that task is connecting our AI to every application that we use. Because maybe we want AI to be integrated into our workflow and not have to go to it, but have it come to us. And in that case, we could have it connect to Gmail, we could have it connect to Slack, or tons of other applications. And by doing this, we could say, hey, AI, I want you to go to my Gmail. I want you to read the last 3 messages I've gotten, draft responses, and even send them for me without ever having to copy anything back and forth. And most providers give this. ChatGPT and Claude are the two that are probably the best at it so far. Now, the next category we're going to talk about is how AI gets data. So how does it retrieve it? So, one term that people like to throw around is RAG. So, this is an acronym. It stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And this is simply put a way for an AI to pull in additional information that's probably too big for it to fit all into its head. So, again, we can draw two boxes here. So, we'll say this box here is the memory of the AI. And this box here, the really big one, is say it's a book. So you can't fit the entire book into the head of the AI. But maybe you've asked a specific question to the AI that the AI has to go to the book, grab that specific section from the book, and pull it back into its memory to then respond to you. That's the process of RAG, where it's going in, it's trying to, in one shot, find the right document or the right specific piece of data in the book and pull it back for you. Another term in relation to RAG is semantic search. So when it's doing that search across the database to find that information in that book, it's searching based on meaning and not keywords. So most of the searches you've done in the past on Google and other types of databases, it was based on keywords. It was trying to match your word that you searched on based off of what's in the database. With AI and semantic search, what we're doing is we're searching on the meaning of the question, not just keywords. And that's what semantic search refers to. Another term that's become more popular recently is agentic search. And this is often used inside of the context of coding and vibe coding. So tools like Claude Code and even Codex, they use agentic search to find information on your system. And a lot of people have pontificated that this may be the future of search. Because with, like I mentioned previously, with semantic search and RAG, with that approach, it's a one-shot deal. You're trying to go off and find the information in one go. If it doesn't find the right information, it could go back if you coded that into it, but oftentimes it's just one go. With agentic search, what's happening is the AI is given a task and it continuously runs in a loop using a variety of tools on the machine to look at files and folders and different things inside the files, etc. And it keeps doing this until it finds the output it needs and then gives it to you. So this overall run could take a few minutes, but the likelihood of it getting what you need or taking the action that you've asked it to do more effectively is higher. So it's agentically searching. Our next term here is again a twofer. We have grounding and hallucination. Oftentimes, when people complain about AI and the output from it, they complain about hallucinations. They're basically stating that the AI is coming up with fake information that doesn't exist, or they're saying something's correct when it's obviously wrong. It's hallucinating in a sense. The way we can fix that is with another term called grounding. And there's two ways I want to share with you of how you can ground. One is just writing better prompts. So with your prompt, say you want the AI to pull some information from a report, but it makes up information from either the internet or somewhere else. The way you can improve that is saying in the prompt, I only want you to pull information from this report and nowhere else. When you pull the information back to me, make sure you cite exactly where you pulled it from. That's a way of grounding the AI to avoid hallucination. Another way to avoid this is if you're searching online, you can turn on web search for any of the AI providers that I mentioned previously. And when it does the web search for you, it's going to cite every single source that it's gotten the information from. So you're improving the chances of it being grounded. And you can also validate the fact that it's stating based off the citation it's given you. And that's what grounding stands for. The next category is techniques. How do we improve what we're getting from the AI? So the first term here is prompt engineering. So this is something I'm sure many of you have heard about. And the simple way that I explain prompt engineering is basically just being as clear, as concise, and as structured as you can when asking an AI a question or to do something on your behalf. And interestingly enough, the best prompt engineers that I've seen aren't technical. They don't have to be technical, but instead they're really strong communicators, either in the written word or the spoken word. And that's basically prompt engineering. An evolution of this is context engineering. And the term context engineering sits behind every AI application that you use, especially the really good ones. And so with context engineering, we're doing more than just a prompt, because in the past with prompt engineering, you're giving the AI some text directly from you to the AI, and you're saying, this is what I want you to do. But the AI often is pulling in a bunch of additional data, not from you, but from other places. That's context. So that could be files, that could be code, that could be data from the internet. And an example here is when you go to ChatGPT and you have it search something online, you've asked it a question, that's your prompt. But all the data it's scraped from the web and consolidated and synthesized back to you is all context. So the people that can effectively engineer pulling in the right context at the right time for the application you're using is going to likely give you the best user experience you can get from that AI. And that's context engineering. The next one here is vibe coding. So with vibe coding, this is something that a lot of people have talked about. And simply put, it's having AI write code on your behalf. And the amount of vibes that you can have sits on a spectrum. So some people sit on the left-hand side with extreme vibes. And in this case, they're basically giving the AI full control, saying, do everything for me. I'm not going to look at the code. I'm not going to check the code. I'm just going to keep on pushing accept and go until you're done. That's full-on vibes. Then we have on the other end, very, very minimal vibes. So that's allowing the AI to write the code, but you're methodically checking everything that it said. You're double checking everything. You're testing. You're doing a bunch of stuff. You're not trusting the AI at all, or Probably just a little bit. My guess is most people will start pushing towards more vibes and away from less vibes as the AI gets better and starts coding more effectively than humans can. Now, the last one here is technical foundations. So, some foundational terminology in relation to AI and how it can be practically useful for you to know. First one here is context window. So, a lot of people will talk about context windows. What is a context window? Well, a context window is basically the AI's memory. How much data can I fit into the AI's head before it runs out of space? And the way that they're counting the context is in tokens. So a token, this is a twofer again. A token is something that is a part of a word. So ChatGPT can be broken into a few segments if we're going to break this into a token. So we could say CHA is part of it, TGP is another part, and then T-5 is another part. So those are three tokens that make up this word. That's kind of what tokens are. And you can see with ChatGPT, it has a 400,000 token limit, and then Gemini 2.5 Pro has a 1 million token limit. The goal with using any model is trying to minimize the amount of context that you fill up in its head at any given time, because the more context you put into the AI's head, the intelligence of the AI starts to degrade and get worse. And that's why context engineering is so important, because you can really specify and tailor what data is shared with the AI at any given time. And next we have training. So this term you'll probably hear in the context of AI infrastructure. So when people are talking about AI building out data centers, etc., in this process, what they're doing is they're taking tons of data, they're having the AI train on that data set, and at the end of that training, ideally, the AI has become more intelligent or more useful. This is practically useful to you because you may want to opt out of this. Maybe you don't want your data being trained on from these AIs. And you can easily set that up in the settings. So all the providers give you the option to opt out, so you don't necessarily have your data being trained on for their models. And finally, our last term slash two terms is agents. So the term agent has become extremely popular, especially in marketing, and nobody has a clear definition for this. Nobody has mutually agreed on what the definition of agent is yet. So I'll give you the most basic version of it. An agent is basically a model where you have an AI set in a loop. So it's going in a loop using different tools to achieve a task. And it keeps on going in a loop over and over and over until it achieves that task. And what happens is when it goes in a loop, it makes autonomous decisions as well. So it goes off, uses a tool, it gets feedback from that tool, and it says, did I achieve the task? Yes or no? If not, I'm going to keep going. So that's what an agent is. A sub agent is something that Claude has popularized via Claude Code. And the usefulness of subagents allows us to minimize the amount of stuff we're shoving into the main context window of a certain problem we're trying to solve. So if we have, say this is a conversation we're having with an AI, this line, and we're running out of context. So maybe let's do another color here. This is the remaining portion of the context. And once we hit this, we're going to hit the context limit, and the AI is going to have to either summarize everything and start a new fresh conversation or something else. So what we can do in this case is we can call a sub-agent to keep working on a given task. So maybe this sub-agent's working on solving a specific bug or looking at security in relation to the code that's been written previously. This sub-agent gets its own context window. So this entire section of this is empty, so it can work as effectively as possible. Once it's achieved given task, it then goes back into the main thread. And it actually saved us a lot of context and not having to use that. And that's basically sub-agents and why it's useful, especially in the context of vibe coding. And those are the terms I wanted to share with you. So the most important thing you can take from all of this is to not worry about all the different terms and jargon that people are throwing around. Only focus on the 1% of the terms that are oriented around productivity and helping you get more from AI and applying AI effectively. And that's it. So if you enjoyed this, please reshare with your friends. And as I mentioned previously, two things. First thing, Blow's a 30-day AI Insight series, completely free. You'll get 30 insights in your inbox how you can apply AI to your business and your work. The second thing is if you'd like to work with me, Blow a series of offerings to see if there's a good fit between the two of us. With that being said, the YouTube gods has put a video somewhere around here that you're going to love. So you should totally check it out. See you next time, Internet.